Hello, gamers. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk podcast. I am your host, the provider, Veronica Vext. With me today, she just made her retirement from professional wrestling at Effie's Big Gay Brunch 11 in Las Vegas. She is about to begin her brand new endeavor of running T4T Wrestling out of Los Angeles, California. The protagonist of pro wrestling, Kid Bandit, is here with us today. Bandit, how you doing?
Am I still technically the protagonist of pro wrestling if I'm no longer a pro wrestler? Well, I guess I'm running a
You're
company.
running a company. Listen.
Yeah.
There are people who have run companies in professional wrestling who are certainly the antagonists of pro wrestling.
That is so freaking true. We could name them, but unfortunately, I think the courts that have like subpoenaed these people in their legal documents, they've named them,
They've named them.
so we don't have to name them anymore.
We don't have to name them. They're beyond our help at this point. First thing I want to ask you about is 1 second. I had all of this set up.
Don't worry. I okay. I just want to say, Veronica here had the patience of a saint because I was late because of LA traffic. So apologies about that. I just wanted to put it out there. You know, there's a lot of grace in my behalf as well because like you had the patience for me.
You're the sweetest. I really appreciate that. You just wrapped up your professional wrestling career at Effie's Big Gay Brunch presented by GCW in Las Vegas for WrestleMania week. First off, I want to know what were your, because I believe this is the first interview that you're doing post retirement. What was your feeling coming out of that final four-way match?
All right. So I gotta clear the air. All right. Not my final match. In a few years, hopefully, if everything works out, I'm gonna go back to Japan and wrestle there because I made a promise to Tanaka-san and his daughter that I will continue wrestling as long as I can. Because you know that's my younger sister. Like I you know like
Getting the
so
exclusives on the Cuddlepunk
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
Kid
yeah.
Bandit is not officially done. Let's go.
Like I mean, I don't know like if I can do it, but if I can, I'm only doing Japan at 01. That's it. So officially I am retired, right? Like, you know, like I don't think I'll be doing the indies. I probably won't ever wrestle for T4T Wrestling, like, you know, which is the company I'm running. I'm definitely not going to be like touring anywhere else, like mind you, like in this day and age with all the travel restrictions for trans people, fuck that shit.
You
But I
can
will.
you can put all the asterisks next to it that you want to. The clip for TikTok is still going to be Kid Bandit isn't retired.
Okay, well, yeah, like if I have the opportunity post surgery and everything works out, then yeah, I'd love to be able to like, you know, continue doing it in an environment that I feel like, you know, I really enjoy and like would thrive in. Obviously, you know, this is very dependent on like medical clearance if everything works out, and honestly because everything is up in the air, like I wanted to officially be able to say goodbye, you know, and that's what I was going through my head. It's like if I never get the chance to lace up the kick pads ever again, I'd want to be able to go out on my own terms. And that's what's going through my head. It's like everybody kept telling me, it was like, oh, there's no way you're fully retired. Everybody comes back. It's like, okay, but like, you know, not everybody's trans. Not everybody's gonna like go through gender reassignment surgery. Like that's a very unique thing that only a handful of people have gone through. Not only that, but like, you know, I'm beat up. I am old. I may be called Kid Bandit, but I'm in my 30s now. I just turned 30 last year.
Not that you can
There's
tell.
thank
Of
you.
course.
The there's a part of me where there's there's just this like sense of unfulfillment because I work on my craft. I really do. Like I train every day. I put my body through hell and training, like you know, like it's like twice a day for 4 hours every single day, like as much as I can, like you know, pull through. But you know, transition affects people differently. In my case, it has made me very, very, very weak and susceptible to injuries, chronic pain, a lot of stuff. And that's just how like my body is taking the transition. Especially because like I started in my 20s, you know. So like you know like I know some other trans wrestlers, like, they're going through like all these changes and they're fine. And I'm so jealous of them because I am not fine. I'm falling apart. I'm falling apart every single match. It's like I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what if I just like combust from all the pain, And I'm thinking to myself, like, I know a lot of wrestlers that stay in wrestling way more than like way past their expiration date, as it were. um I get the privilege to be able to dictate how I go out at like a time where I feel like I'm not like irrelevant yet, so I'm never gonna get to a point where I'm like grasping for relevancy. I'm like, oh, here's me starting a podcast where I talk shit on everybody because like nobody pays attention to me anymore. Like I never have to worry about that shit. Like I get to take what I had as a good experience, like filled with wonderful memories, and leave it at that, and it'll always be that. I like at that point, like I can no longer tarnish that stuff. It's always going to be something I take and bring into the next chapter, which is T4T wrestling. So, that's what was going through my head. I was like, yeah, I thought I was going to regret it. I thought I was going to be a lot more emotional about it. But then, like, as I was walking backstage and my body was just falling apart, I'm like, no, 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 I made the right call. Cause, you know, like it's better to be able to like walk out than be like taken out on a stretcher or like an ambulance or something. So yeah.
Piggybacking off of that, to any wrestlers who may have retired recently, if you are thinking about starting a podcast or a YouTube channel, don't. There's enough of us. There's enough of us. Chris and I and a couple other people, we all have it covered. John, maybe. John, you can do it. And Phil, I couldn't stop if I wanted to. Other than your match, for those who don't know, WrestleMania week, whenever WrestleMania happens in that area, there is always like a week of other showcases from other companies. I don't know how much you got to see from the indies from Mania week. What was your favorite match that you were able to see?
See, that's a hard question. I'm gonna have to go with Bear Bronson and Mr. Danger versus Hayabusa and Tanaka at MDK Fight Club. Just because, like, I was there present. I was actually helping with like the 01 folks with their merch table, so I was like, I had to be there. Like that entire event was just nice too. Like it was also like there was a ceremony to honor Megumi Kudo into like the GCW Deathmatch Hall of Fame, which I thought was very, very well deserved. So seeing her get her flowers, I had the opportunity to work for 01 multiple times last year, and like going to Japan is always like a fun thing for, and like I think that's like a big milestone for a lot of wrestlers too. So being able to go there and work for such a respected company, like and get myself involved with like a lot of like icons in the industry, like, and then seeing them like like playing a part in like helping them as they like take an American excursion during that weekend, and then seeing them like kill it at the main event, like very very much made me like very happy. I was very like I had like an emotional attachment to it, and it was a good match. I think Mr. Danger hit like a springboard 450 from the ring to the outside on a table on Hayabusa, and I was just like, what the hell? Like, like that's crazy and stuff. And that then like in a setting like Mania Week, like stuff like that is fairly common. Like everybody's trying to one up each other, but like, you know, and this is happening like around midnight, I think. So like, everybody's kind of been tired and like exhausted, but when they saw that, like everybody erupted, and I think like JCW was after that, if I'm or no, actually that was the next night, the next night, spring break, which was fun too. I believe it was I know Atticus versus Hayabusa happened in spring break. I know Tanaka also showed up at like this multi-person match. Got to like work a little bit with Man Like Doris, which I think was like really cool. Like so yeah, like a lot of Mania week for me was just sticking around with like the 01 folks, making sure they had a good time in America, and then like doing my shows as well, like so because I did get a couple of bookings during Mania week, which I promised myself I wouldn't. I told everybody I was just gonna do the brunch, and before I knew it, I was doing 4 matches. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Mania next year is still somehow going to be held in Saudi Arabia. As somebody who is running now an independent company. What do you think is the plan next year for Mania Week? Because nobody is going to be going to Saudi Arabia. Nobody's going over there.
Um, like there's this wonderful thing that has happened like in the last recent years where, you know, the territories I feel like has like diminished, as in like people are very much more keen on like working alongside each other. Texas has been like a good example of that. I know a lot of like companies in Texas like work in conjunction with each other to ensure that like, talents get shared, like, like the scumbags like are like kept out of the business and stuff. And then it branched out. Scott from West Coast Pro, it created like an initiative involving like several prominent like indie companies. I know Brett also already does that for the collective. I could definitely see something where depending of if AEW does a counter programming, then like wherever AEW runs that week or to counter program, WWE will be like where everybody will gather, and that's where the indie collective will happen. And I think it's going to be um more of a indie friendly environment, because I know AEW does work a lot with like indie companies as opposed to WWE that kind of has their own system. Um and then if that doesn't happen, then I could see something where maybe GCW's collective will run over in the East Coast, and then the West Coast will run a collective on the West Coast and stuff, and that could be like the competing like um ideologies and stuff. And like it doesn't mean it's going to like affect the industry badly, because I feel like oh, so like if you live in the East Coast, then go here, this is where all the wrestling is going to happen, and on the West Coast this is where it's going to happen. And I think that could create like a new form of like super indie weekend, where it's not necessarily like Mania weekend where we all just gather where WrestleMania is going to be, but it becomes like a thing where it's like, oh, all these indies companies are like putting on this like big festival, like come through, and it doesn't necessarily need the star power of WrestleMania, because I feel like there's a lot of stars in the indies, and like we've seen this proven like true, like with the inception of AEW during I believe All Out. When All Out happened, like that was all indie companies, just like or indie workers, um, and folks from New Japan, obviously. But like it was like just top like non WWE folks putting together a show that sold out and like led to the inception of a wrestling company, right? So we never really know what the landscape could be like, and I think it's going to be an exciting time to see how whatever takes place during that week might shape the industry moving forward.
It's interesting because if you are not like, if you're not like tuned in to the indies, it could seem like the territories like very much did go away. But if you're paying more attention to the indies, the territories didn't really go away that much.
I think it exists in like a local level.
Right.
So, competing local indies definitely don't want to like share talent or like have like their champion buried by another show and stuff. And there's always like interpersonal drama in like small spheres like that. Like like it's very high school. Um unfortunately. And so having I guess like having like a a large presence on the internet, like kind of like because we're all interconnected on like social medias, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Fight TV, on IWTV, on YouTube, like so like it's not like you can't watch one show and then miss the other, because the other show's like content is going to be available for streaming like later on anyway. And s- I think in a way it made the world of indie wrestling a lot more accessible for people, and thus making it feel more small, because it's even though like a company in Chicago might be competing with like time slot on IWTV with like company in Washington, like there's still an opportunity to watch both in the same platform. So the idea that people are like competing doesn't necessarily exist, which means like the territory aspect doesn't have like this like, you know, great big barrier. amongst each other. You'll see like a West Coast star working on the East Coast, then working on the South, and then back. And I think that's okay. Like but we're still definitely in a time period where certain like talents are becoming staples of regions. Like Anthony Green in the Northeast, for example, like that's someone synonymous with that region, or Trevor Outlaw in Chicago,
I was gonna say
uh,
Trevor or like Ego Anthony in was always mostly just like a Midwest kind of guy.
yeah, yeah, like like when you think of like the Midwest indie scene, you got like a lot of names like specifically pop in your head. You think West Coast, like you're like, oh, Johnny Robbie, right? Like she's from West Coast, like Titus Alexander. You think like Canada, like and stuff like that, and you start thinking like all the folks are at NEW or Giselle for blanking MLP, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
Maple
yeah.
Leaf, Maple
Maple
Leaf,
Leaf
yeah, yeah.
Hero.
Yeah. So there's like, we exist in a time where there's regional stars, but I don't think there's like this like level of like, oh, you're a big star there, but when you go elsewhere, you're nobody. Like, no, because the internet like exposes everybody, like, right? So like, and that was something I like had the fortune of like taking advantage of, because like I'm based off Los Angeles, but whenever I work like out of state in like a place like Pennsylvania or New York or uh freaking Alabama, like people like come up to me like, oh, I follow you on social media, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, crazy, because like I'm from LA, like, and they're like, wow, cool. Like, and so I think that's how like the territories in like inter or in the national level have kind of like dwindled, but it definitely exists in like the smaller level, because like, indies that like take up like a city definitely are competing with each other, like, or working with each other even, like, sometimes. So, but as far as like how it used to be with like the South, the Deep South versus like like the West Coast, like there's no like rivalry or anything like that. Like not like how it was back then, where like people were actively like trying to sabotage each other's like shows by like burying talent, or like cutting backstage deals where with contracts and stuff, like shady contract like practices. Like that thankfully does not exist in this day and age.
Speaking of shady business contracts, this is the greatest transition since
Ha.
either of ours. You're starting T for T Wrestling. Your first event is July 3rd. One of the things that you mentioned when you started talking about T for T Wrestling was T Boy Wrestling, which was just such a shit show and took advantage of so many trans wrestlers. Are there going to be people who were associated, like not associated with the production side, but are there going to be people who were maybe in T Boy Wrestling who are going to be showing up in T for T?
Yeah, we have some performers like that got done dirty, and like now they're getting another opportunity to showcase like their skills and like be able to perform. So I'm happy about that. As far as like management, logistics, and like coaching goes, like I tried actually, like and first like I reached out to them. I said like, hey, how do y'all feel like about bringing this back, but like better manage and stuff. But I think there was like a kind of like a misconception that I was gonna come in and save the day. It's like, no, I don't have those resources. I have resources, but a lot of it's like favors I've been owed over the years, a lot of goodwill I built up with my community in the indie wrestling world. And T-Boy Wrestling wasn't indie. It was like, they were doing like shoot wrestling that like also had kind of like sort of um a reinterpretation and reconceptualization of pro wrestling in like a trans and non-binary lens, which I thought was really sick. I'm like, oh, this is like more like drag than it is like pro wrestling. Let's do more of that. I think that's cool. So I like, one of the idea like the ideas for my pitch was like, hey, let's bring this back, but let's fine tune it. Like, let's actually get some folks that like know the training, that could like ensure that like there's a lot of like safety issues that like are being addressed. We'll make sure that all this stuff is taken care of and stuff. Unfortunately, like the way like you work in the indie wrestling is very fast. It's like go 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 go. It's also very DIY, like and I think like my approach alienated a lot of people because like they're coming in fresh from like the mismanagement done by the owners I'm so here's another kicker. I was in Japan when I found out about the T-boy wrestling stuff, so I had no idea the extent until like further on. So like yeah, it's actually wild. And there's some stuff that haven't been like publicly like mentioned yet that also happened. That's like, oh my gosh, like if people knew like how bad it actually did get, like that's not like being shared with everybody, like yeah, like you know it's almost a benefit that I'm not associating myself too much with T-boy wrestling
Because that's the
because
reason I asked. Because it seemed like in the tweet originally, like it did seem like that was kind of the direction you were going to be going into, was kind of just taking over that promotion in a certain way.
so like I thought about that too because like they already had an existing following and like it's not like taking something that already exists and like putting it under somebody else's like management, like that's a bad thing because there was a lot of good about T-boy wrestling. It was like picking up so much steam because like people liked it. Like were there a lot of like red flags that people overlook? Yeah, because like I think in this day and age when you're a part of a marginalized group, you just want to seek like things that are like catered towards you, and like they were able to basically grow a large following that I obviously as a businesswoman I want to be able to tap into that market. That being said, I also thought to myself like, you know what? No, like there's way too much like there's way too much bad blood and like drama and like it the more I associate myself and our company with that, I feel like the more obstacles we'll have to climb, the more we're gonna have to re-earn goodwill from people, which by the way, we had nothing to do with what T-boy wrestling did. All we're doing is taking the idea that they had and just running shows with it. It's basically just like, oh yeah, this show got canceled. Bye everyone. Here's us. Uh, Easiest way I could think about it. If they were episode 4 of Star Wars A New Hope, then we're basically like, The Force Awakens. Like it's the same fucking thing with like better like SFX and visuals and whatever the fuck, and hopefully not as bad like of a plot, but like you see what I'm trying to say here. Like it's just the same idea, and like I have to say it's invoking that kind of energy because I want to be able to tap into the people that they were able to um draw in, not only like as an audience but all the sponsors. I don't know where they got their money from. Like the numbers I heard, the fact that there was an embezzlement with that much amount of money for a wrestling company that's not like on TV, mind you, that's insane. Because like that means their revenue and their profits were like at that like scale, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like okay, so there's obviously a market for it. But at the same time, it wasn't being operated properly. And this is my opinion. I genuinely think that the folks running it before, like they had good intentions, and then it got way too out of hand, way too big for them. They didn't know how to handle that, and I think like yeah, like and that's how we got this shit show. What I'm doing is like I don't want it to be as big and crazy like that. If it does get there, great. I'll probably like step away at that point. Like I'm retired. I want peace and quiet. I want to be able to play all my Star Wars games that I've like had in my backlog that I haven't been able to touch yet.
Which games
You know,
haven't you played yet?
um, so I haven't finished Survivor. I'm playing Outlaws right now. I'm actually alternating Survivor and Outlaws. I know Zero Company's coming out, so I want to clear my schedule for that. I know Galactic Racer's also coming out. I'm not sure which one comes out first, but like I got those two coming out. I've been playing a little bit of Squadrons, and I'm not a big fan of Battlefront because like like it's all right, I guess. But I did like 2005 Battlefront though, and I have a modded version of it where they have like a lot of like cool new stuff and stuff from like extended canon. And anyway,
I've been watching
try not
my.
to
I've
get
been watching the reason I ask. I've been watching my roommate played through Outlaws for the last like month or so, and
Nice.
I'm like, Ubisoft made this game. This looks like it functions.
Uh it has its quirks here and there. I think the story's a little bit watered down. There was like potential for it to go dark, and they decided to Disneyfy it. But that being said, I really enjoyed the story. Actually, like I thought, I like I was reading up on it. It's like, oh, they wanted like the main character Kay to be relatable, but also very Han Solo. I'm like, oh, you know what? I can relate to her. Like, like I appreciate this. This is a so I could appreciate it like taking more of a lighthearted tone. I know that they released the wild card DLC and like the DLC with Hondo, so I'm like I haven't gotten there yet, but like I've already beaten the game a while back. I'm replaying it now just to get to the DLC and stuff, and like also like this time around I'm like really locking in on like the Sabak card game with like it's like the
Yeah,
poker
yeah,
or
yeah.
blackjack game that they have. So I'm like this time around I'm like locking in on that because I really enjoyed it. But like I remember when the game first came out, I just wanted to beat the story. That was it. Anyway, yeah. So go back on T-Boy Wrestling. Sorry for that Star Wars sidetrack, but to go back to T-Boy
Yeah.
Wrestling.
I want to one more thing.
Okay.
I've listened to other podcasts that you've been on. If you apologize for rambling at all, when I see you in LA, I will slap you. Is the one thing that I have to say.
Oh no, hey, mind you, I'm retired, so like, hey, I don't have to sell that anymore. Like, if you want the cool visual, you're gonna have to like hit me.
Bet.
All right, so, yeah, for how much involvement I wanted from like the old staff. A lot of it was just helping set up and being able to tap to the existing resources that was already working with T-Boy Wrestling. But there were other things too that I felt like we didn't really need a social media manager. What do you mean? Like we have like 1,000 followers on Instagram, like, and we post every other day. Also, I happen to know how to run social media, I have pretty sizable following on like multiple platforms, so I think I have that experience. Do we really need to hire a graphics like person? Because I have a graphics design degree. I could do that. Okay, I'll just do that. Do we really need to find someone to like do like a lot of the production stuff, like navigating like the video stuff? Well, I have a film degree too. Maybe I should just take charge of that. So a lot of like the money saving strategies we're incorporating.
Is burnout for you?
No, I'm actually not burnt out because, like, as we mentioned earlier, I am retired.
You're right. You're
I,
right.
I am retired, which means I have a lot of time that I can devote into this. I'm actually putting a lot of like my skill sets to good use. Something that I made sure to always do because like even early on, like one of the best advice I've gotten from like this one's from QT actually is like always figure out something to do in like the business, not just like wrestle, right? Because your body's not gonna hold up. I was around for I was only around for 4 years, but within those 4 years, I was able to cram in a lot of experience, rub elbows with a lot of notable people, make good connections, understand the nuances of how like things are operating behind the scenes, how to market, how to do business, how to like attract sponsors, how to like navigate like the complicated politics that are involved in the wrestling world, how to book people, how to book a show, how to like not overbook a show, which I unfortunately never really learned. So and I've been fortunate to have mentors and like notable people also available to like give me advice. So I have a lot of resources that I'm tapping into. I have a lot of like necessary skill sets to be able to run this in a small scale operation as opposed to like what they're trying to do. And if it grows bigger, then like we'll adjust accordingly. But the way that it was being operated at first when I was trying to work with like the existing team was like um they wanted a lot of the same things, and I wasn't really like looking for running it that way because I had major gripes with their production. Yeah, like it was great, like it was drawing a lot of people. Like, have you seen any videos from it?
No, I have not seen a
Exactly.
single video.
Exactly, right? And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that. Like, I have like one clip I share everywhere and it's like taken from a phone. but like I got tagged on, and I'm like, all right, I am using this footage, you know. So like this is how I promote like the stuff that I did that night. So yeah, that was that was a lot of the stuff that I felt like, you know, I could like just use like what exists already and stuff, and save money, you know, save money so I could like, you know, get like Nyla Rose, get like Dark Sheik, get Sunny Kiss, you know. So like, you know, being able to reallocate resources that would otherwise be like put towards like things that I could like do myself, like, you know. And that is ultimately the DIY aspect of like running an indie company. It's like um a lot of it's going to be on you and like the people that are helping you. Like my wife is helping me run it, you know. Like I have coaches that like I've hired that, like, you know, I trust and I believe that they'll be great for it. We have a nurse like on site who happens to be a coach, so instead of like paying for an extra nurse, I'm like, hey, I happen to know a non-binary person who's a coach who knows how to teach like really good like wrestling, and you know, can also provide like medical expertise if the need arises, like, you know. So yeah, we're basically running this and figuring it out as we go, but we're also like maximizing existing resources. And I think one of the best things to, and like this is like just to wrap up like our like how much involvement we wanted from T-Boy Wrestling. Like there was a twofold reasoning why I needed to like associate myself with them, but not too much. One was because we wanted to get their audience and like their sponsors, but secondly, like the amount of goodwill that they've created is still very sizable. That a lot of people who aren't aware about like the scandal and the drama, like they just think that like, oh wow, this is this cool thing, what happened, and then they find out, right? But you know, we have gotten so many wholesome offers, like in terms of like what services are willing to like work with us. Yeah, like, you know, like we have gotten messages from like companies and businesses that like have like great gender affirming like services, are associated with like, you know, organizations that are like notable in how much they do for the community and stuff, and they've reached out and they've wanted to help. The facility that we're working on, like we were able to like get that for like a very affordable, like, you know, deal. Basically, like we've had a lot of people like messaging me just saying like they'd like to offer their service, and when I ask them how much like they'd like to be compensated for it, like, you know, they're like, no, we're doing this to help the community and stuff. And I feel like it's my obligation to like, you know, okay, so now this is becoming something more of like a hub now, where we're connecting people with each other to see well how we can like use their resources and stuff. And like one of the things I've always wanted to really tap into is how community driven it could be, with like, you know, everybody in our class, our students, like they have lives outside of like wrestling, right? So like some of them are filmmakers, some of them like have like big followings on social media, some of them have backgrounds in like, you know, martial arts and stuff like that. So like we're able to like connect each other with each other. So like, you know, like say somebody, hey, I'm doing a drag show and we need someone that like does martial arts. Oh, I happen to know someone from my T4T wrestling class and stuff like that. So like, you know, we're creating a community. And I think that is the thing that T-Boy Wrestling had that I wanted as well for T4T Wrestling. I wanted to be able to create a strong community that's able to help each other and stuff like that. And like, you know, hopefully like with time, if this venture does prove to be like successful, then like we could use like this as a way to like platform people. And you know, like the main mission statement is like, hey, through pro wrestling and wrestling, like I was able to like, you know, discover self-confidence and feel empowered, and I want to be able to get that kind of validation to other people, whether it is as part of our crew, part of our students, or like the audience, you know? So, yeah.
Kid Bandit, even in death, still the protagonist of pro wrestling, putting on the community, putting on everything else. There's some other protagonists that we're going to be talking about right after this break. We'll be right back with more of the Cuddlepunk podcast. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk podcast. We are here with Kid Bandit. Kid Bandit is known as the protagonist of pro wrestling, taking her inspiration from many a video game and anime protagonist. One particular video game, she uses one of her main moves is kicks, and one particular video game series that is known for their kicks is the Resident Evil series. I'm right. I'm right. Fuck off. I'm giving all of this in, by the way. So what we're gonna do, Jesus Christ. So what we're gonna do is we are going to be doing another tier list. We are doing the Resident Evil protagonist tier list. I did not make this one. This one is by. It doesn't say who it's by. Fantastic. I'm continue to make myself look like a giant ass. We've got 13 Resident Evil protagonists right here. We're gonna go through all of them and rank them from S tier to D tier. First of all, Bandit, what is your relationship with the Resident Evil games?
I played originals, um, 1 and 2 on the PlayStation. Never finished them, but I know the plot. I know the plot. Like like through osmosis and just like being far enough along in the game that, and then like eventually like reading spoilers, like and like watching like YouTube videos, and they're like, oh, getting spoiled in the comments, yay. Um, the first Resident Evil game I did finish was 4, starring Leon Kennedy, trying to save Ashley. I did play 3, but only the remake, but I really enjoyed it. Resident Evil 5, like
I have been spoiled by the RE engine, which is how I've played all of these games.
right.
And I just the way the split screen looks in Resident Evil 5 is fucking ridiculous.
But I will say it's probably the best co-op game in the entire Resident Evil franchise. Like
That's a low bar.
I don't know if there's Operation Raccoon City, but we're not gonna talk about that.
That's my point exactly.
Resident Evil 6 was interesting. I'm pretty sure that's the one with like the 3 protagonists. I like Jack. Huh?
Oh, it's 4.
Is it 4? It's Jack, it's Leon, it's Chris. Who's the 4th one? Is it Ada?
I think Ada's in there, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah, but like I said, like it was interesting. I don't remember much from it, but I really enjoyed playing Jack. Like I thought like it was like kind of playing like Uncharted instead of like like, and I think that's kind of also when Resident Evil like it's always been an action based like thing, but I think that's when they went full on anime, like full on anime, and then um they scaled back on the power scaling with Resident Evil 7, which like did the with Ethan with the first person stuff, which mind you, I thought the plot twist in that game was freaking amazing. like when I don't want to spoil it. I forget like we were talking about Resident Evil.
It's an old game. It's a decently old game.
Yeah, like what
7 is the first one that I played. I just got into them last year, and it's already my favorite like series ever.
Yeah, like when the plot twist of like Ethan also being infected, like having a mold, is like, oh, so that's why you're able to do all this shit, like because like most of the time, like people in the franchise like fight like I think the only protagonist outside of Ethan that was like just like a normal person was Claire, right? But Claire is related to Chris, and Chris is Captain America, so, so I'm pretty sure Claire has Captain America blood in her. 8 was goth, big mommy milkers,
vampire mommy milkers.
Yes, need I say more?
I don't think anything else needs to be said.
Yeah, but I'll say this, I guess, like Resident Evil 9 or sorry, Resident Evil 8 definitely feels very Devil May Cry, which I really appreciated. Like I think out of all the entire series, that was the most Devil May Cry. And then Requiem, that one, like, I like Grace. I like the like, I like the idea that you get the power fantasy by playing Leon, but then you get like the survival horror aspect that like got introduced in 7 and 8 through Grace. So, it's a perfect compromise without like having to sacrifice like established aspects that have been associated with the game, like in recent years. I guess like the only thing that like Requiem didn't really have is like the fixed camera that the old Resident Evil games had. But that's all right. Like Devil May Cry, which was originally supposed to be a Resident Evil game. I don't know if that like everybody knew that. Devil May Cry was originally conceptualized as a Resident Evil spin-off or something like that, which is why Dante looks very similar to Leon. And then they just realized, okay, let's just make an entire new IP and stuff. Or at least that's what I overheard.
It's a reverse Star Fox Adventures.
Yeah, basically. So if we're not counting Dante, like, yeah. But
Dante
anyway,
is not
yeah,
on this list,
Dante.
unfortunately.
All right,
All
fair
right,
enough.
I know it's a whole thing's a wash, but we'll get through it as we can. Let's start off first off right here. Claire Redfield.
Oh, Claire Redfield is gonna be on the S tier.
Of course she is.
um, why? Well, she just went through the most. Like
Absolutely.
just what just goes through the most. Like, well, Leon and Claire were basically like infants during the events of Raccoon City. I feel like Raccoon City was a catalyst for a lot of like what happens in Resident Evil, right? Like, and Claire being basically like a normal like human person, like yeah, she has some
She's not
training, I
even a
suppose.
cop.
Yeah, she's not even a cop. Like, she doesn't have like the specialized training to be able to handle a lot of this stuff. This is like when have you ever seen the Deadpool movie where like Peter just joins the X
Yeah,
Force team and like Peter was just like this random dude with a mustache? That was Claire, basically.
exactly.
Like she's the Peter of the entire group, right? Like even Grace was a FBI analyst, so she had some training. Ethan was like a mutant. So like, that
Right.
doesn't really count. So if we're talking specifically like just some random human being that got like thrown into this madness, like, she handled herself well. Like, look, I'm looking at you, Ashley. Like you could have been Claire. Like you should have taken notes from Claire. Like that's why no wonder Leon's like freaking like pissed off in four because at least Claire was like holding her own too, right?
They don't even interact for like two scenes, and then everything is a reverse trailing mission in Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up, Ada Wong. There's no double S or triple S tier here, so we can only put her in S tier.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, we always love a femme fatale,
Absolutely.
um, and I think nobody like there's a lot of femme fatales in Resident Evil, but nobody really captures that like sultry, like 50s spy, like femme fatale, like energy that Ada has. I think,
Nobody keeps their mystery like Ada Wong does.
yeah, which I think like offsetting that with like with Leon who has like amazing chemistry with Ada. I feel like and like you juxtapose Leon's like quippy like almost like deadpan personality with Ada's like mysterious and like but also like just like seeing her move, watching her scenes, like you really get the sense that like okay, so this is like a super spy like Charlie's Angels type like character in like a zombie world, which you know, I know Infected Jill was kind of like that. Like Wesker kind of like tried to make Infected Jill that, but like Ada didn't need to have like any like viruses in her to be that. She just was. So
Of course.
yeah.
Next up, the one of the OGs, Jill Valentine.
Jill, stars.
Stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go B. With for Jill, unfortunately, I like her. I think the tube top look was pretty cool. Like like
The hat was nice. The hat
the
was
hat was
nice.
nice. I think as the series progressed, the writing for her as unfortunately like she's kind of taking a back seat, like that's a shame because like I feel like she was like such an integral part of like the lore at first. Like she has a direct connection with like Chris, with Wesker. Like there's like she was there from the very beginning, but like when you think of like Resident Evil, like mainstays. Like she's not in the main event scene, unfortunately. But like everybody loves her. Like like there was a point where she was like one of the most popular like things in Resident Evil. Like I'd say, and like I say this with a lot of love, but like there was a point where she was like the 2008 Jeff Hardy, where
Right,
everybody,
absolutely.
like, but after 2008, then like like the popularity faded away. So, well,
Exactly.
not for me. I love you, Jeff.
We love Jeff.
Love you, Jeff. Like congrats on sobriety. Let's go. Anyway, yeah,
Next up is ne-
Rebecca, right?
next up is Rebecca Chambers.
Yeah, Rebecca Chambers. That will be a B as well for me, unfortunately. Uh, uh, she did what she could. I'll say that. She's like very inexperienced, but like very positive. So I think, it's nice to have that kind of character that's like a little bit more anime protagonist than anything compared to like all the other characters who were just kind of like, I just got thrust into this position, whereas Rebecca's like kind of more spunky and like, yeah, we got this and stuff. So, but she was still like also able to show fear. But we don't really see much from Rebecca, really. Like, like in my opinion, at least.
I get you. Next up, the OGest of OGs, Captain America himself, Chris motherfucking Redfield.
That's a D.
A
That's a D
D for
for
Chris
me. That's a D.
Redfield.
I do not like Chris Redfield. Um, I did it first.
There's the clip I'm gonna tag Queso in to make sure that he reacts to this shit.
I'm sorry. Okay, okay. Before Resident Evil 1, Chris Redfield cool. Chris Redfield was so cool. Like he was just like regular dude trained for this, and then like, eventually progressively like he realized, "Oh man, my enemies are being enhanced by viruses and chemicals. Well, I got to get on their level too, and I'm going to do that with sheer human willpower." He's like CM Punk. No drugs, no alcohol, no T virus, no C virus, none of that shit. He was gonna hit the gym. His addiction is creatine and competition.
Ah! This
And
makes
I was
so much
behind that. I
sense.
like
Chris
that.
Redfield, CM Punk.
Yeah, because like motherfucker was straight edge. He's like, no enhancements for me, brother. I'm no unnecessary flips either. Like Leon, we're just gonna get yoked and we're gonna get good. And we're gonna punch boulders. We're gonna fucking punch boulders. And then it got absurd. And then it got
He
absurd.
fell a lot for me in Resident Evil Village in Resident Evil 8.
Yes.
Like, there's no you could have just told Ethan. You could have told him. There's
Yeah.
no reason you couldn't have told him.
The character assassination Chris had in the latest entries is why he is in the D spot.
Yeah,
When
you've made a compelling argument. I
yeah,
can say
when
that for sure.
exactly. Like when he was like the CM Punk Captain America, just like clanging and banging it like The Rock 6 hours a day at the fucking gym because he knows that Wesker's out here sipping like T virus fucking serums like it's fucking crack. He's like, I'm not gonna get there that way. We're just gonna raw dog this. We're gonna raw dog this, and I respect that. But then he had to get all philosophical. Yeah, he probably watched a bunch of Joe Rogan videos and thought, oh, you know what? I'm not just some muscly guy. I have a brain too. Let me go fuck with Ethan. I was like, oh my god, bro.
You're not that guy. You're not
Yeah,
that
just
guy.
just be the Punisher. Go out there and shoot some zombies. Like that's what the power fantasy for you is. And I think he like that's at some point down the line when he started taking less of like a protagonist role and more of like almost like an antagonist role, right? Like you lose that essence of what made Chris likable to begin with, which was like, here's a big buff guy, like just punching boulders and like giving attitude adjustments to like, if Leon's the ninja doing like the cool ninja flippy moves on the zombies, then Chris is the Incredible Hulk saying Chris smash, and there was something beautiful about that that like got lost along the way.
I I completely agree. Next up we have God, all of that was perfect. What the fuck? Next up we have Helena Harper.
This is shoot. I don't remember her.
We could
Which
skip.
one's this one?
She's in 6. She's
Yeah,
one
so
of.
she's the fourth protagonist.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember 3. I don't remember her. So yeah, yeah. Hi, I'm sorry.
You're fine. We can let. I'm sorry, Helena. We gotta skip you. We don't know enough about this bitch. Next up, Carlos Oliveira from Resident Evil
Carlos
3.
is an S tier.
Carlos is an best himbo in the Resident Evil series.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know the best part is he's like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Arrive, Racel, and dip because we've never heard from him ever again.
Nope.
But like I I don't know what happened to him. I like to headcanon that like he saw the shit and realized, hey, I survived it. I'm fucking out.
I'm gone. I'm gone. No more.
Yeah, I like this personality a lot. Like I guess like the easiest way to describe him is like he was like Francis from Left 4 Dead, like the first one. Like he's just
Okay.
he was a dude that like he was very gruff, very macho, but also not like toxic about it. He's not
No.
like Chris Redfield's level of like macho. He's more like a brawler, like kind of like Shaggy a little bit, and I respect that. Like you hardly get like protagonists like that in like Japanese made games. That's like more gruff. Like usually when male characters are playable characters in Japanese games, they're usually like very sanitized, very twinky almost, right? Like. Right, I don't know. It's a trend I've noticed, right? Especially with Capcom. Like let's be real. Is Dante a twink? Yeah, Dante's
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
He's
exactly.
a twink.
But Carlos isn't like
No.
Chris isn't right like so I appreciate the variety because like
You
you
need a
always
good variety of dudes.
yeah, and also like just Carlos had good lines. Like I just like I can't name them off the top of my head, but I remember like the only time I ever played Resident Evil 3 was the remake. And I really enjoyed playing as Carlos because I was just like I really like this character. I thought he was a little bit more on the um he was the right kind, like he wasn't like overbearing in the sense of like here's how different our protagonist is from the previous protagonist, like, and it's not being shoved into your face. You just feel it like organically with like I don't know how it was in the original, so I can't judge that. I can only judge it based off the remake stuff, but I enjoyed playing as Carlos.
He was a lot of fun. I also haven't. I've also only played the remake. We're gonna get crucified. Sherry Birkin.
Sherry was which game?
Sherry is the person who is talking to Leon throughout 4 and Requiem.
Oh, yeah, so that's why I was like, I don't think you play as her, do you?
Yeah,
like,
but she's a
yeah,
protagonist.
she's, oh yeah, okay, so I remember it now. Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, you can't get through the game without her guidance,
No,
and like,
she serves a purpose.
yeah, it's like Diane from like Hitman,
Right.
like, yeah, so, uh. Yeah, like I was under the assumption this is like all like player control characters, so like I was like, oh, like threw me a bit surprised, but like Sherry's like, yeah, she like you um to quote Ned from Spider-Man, like you always need a man in the chair, right? In this case, a woman in the chair. Yeah, she was the woman in the chair. Yeah.
Next up, Jake Muller.
Jake. See, I kept saying Jack. Jake. Jake is a B. I as far as all the gameplays in 6 goes, I really enjoyed that. I like I don't remember if it was an implication or if it was confirmed that he was Wesker's son. I like that there was a connection there, but I also think that his sections were a little too short. I would have liked to see him more. But I really like how just it's like a way for the franchise to give you control of like, hey, do you ever want to play as Wesker? But like not Wesker, like you want to fulfill that power fantasy, here you go. So and I think that was a unique, and I don't think we ever see that again in any of the
I don't think so.
games, so like it's almost like you're playing Thor in like a Call of Duty game, like yeah, like I don't know, like I guess.
I get you. We got one person on the left of Jill Valentine. We got one person on the right of Jill Valentine. You know what that means? We got a Jill sandwich, baby. We got a Jewel sandwich, pop bottles, air horns, air horns, air horns. Next up, Pierce Nivens.
Pierce is one, right? No.
Pierce is also six.
What?
Six has
Oh,
too
I
many
know. Oh, yeah, yeah. I know
characters.
Pierce. I know Pierce. Yeah, yeah. I remember now. Pierce. Okay. Uh, he yeah. I'd put him C. He wasn't around for very long. I think he got killed in the game, right? Yeah, he
Yeah,
died in the game. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
Yeah,
quickly.
very quickly. Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, yeah, not like but it is nice to have like discount Chris Redfield, I guess. Like you know what I mean?
For when you need a spare.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, you can never go wrong with like many Captain Americas.
Exactly.
Hey, we've had three of them in the MCU, right?
Next up, I love so much that he's just a hand. Ethan Winters.
Ethan would be an A as well.
Yeah, I am
Um,
tired of the Ethan Winters slander.
I don't get it because um, okay, here's I like to go back to the Star Wars thing that we were talking about earlier, right? Like you have the Luke Skywalkers, and then you have the Anakin Skywalkers, and then you have the Han Solos, and then you go a tier below that, you have the Mandalorian. You go a tier below that, you get like a Glove Shido with like a good power level, like Hondo, and you go even further than that, you get Andor. And Andor works because the struggles Andor had to face were like way smaller in comparison compared to like say Luke Skywalker had to blow up the Death Star. What's Andor have to do? Oh, Andor just has to like avoid the Empire. Like, but the
You're a
smaller
fucking genius.
yeah, like the smaller the scale was of the dilemma, the bigger the stakes seemed. And in Ethan's case, like at least in the narrative, you get portrayed as this regular dude that's looking for your wife and like, and you're it's like very claustrophobic because they switch to the first person point of view. They introduce the concept that's like more like less grand. Like by five you were like mowing down like hundreds of people. By six you were literally a fucking superhero. So to scale back uh, with seven, you reintroduce the concept of like what something terrifying is. I mentioned earlier about Requiem that like fulfills the power fantasy of mowing down zombies as Leon, but then also getting the gratification of being scared shitless as Grace. And Ethan's Ethan's journey is kind of like the reintroduction of the horror aspect for Resident Evil, because for a while it stopped being that and became like how cool can I backflip off this wall and like shoot this regenerator in the face, blah 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 blah. Like let me do some cool ninja shit. You don't get that with seven with Ethan. I don't think you get that like. I mean, you kind of get it because like you get the plot twists, the mutant stuff. Like, so he's not regular dude, but they even like figured like I think it was genius too. Like they figured out a way to like show you the reason why like someone like Ethan's able to survive his like the ordeal because he's like a mutant too. And like not when you replay the game and you know the twist, like how he heals himself, like in combat, how he's able to like survive certain things that like you're like, oh, that should have killed me. Why didn't that kill me? But because if he's a normal dude, he shouldn't be surviving like he shouldn't be thriving this much. So like I thought that was a cool way to go, and I think it was a bold direction for the franchise as well, which really reinvigorated like interest for it. And then the big mommy milker, goth mommy milker is like a kind of like
That
also
helped a lot. That
that
helped a
helped a
lot.
lot, yes, but like the the idea that they're able to capture that like first person horror feel that I feel like, and this is my take, I think they took that from PT.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like they saw the demo for PT. PT didn't happen, and then like they realized, you know what? That's actually a like like why don't we do something like that? So like
Right.
I think that was like a big inspiration for Ethan's story, and like he was the kind of protagonist that would fit that because if you got Leon in first person shooter game, like it's like it's not gonna hit the same.
No.
Yeah, so someone like him that's new, a fresh perspective and the thing, literally with like how they switched to first person shooter, like he did his job well, so that's why he's an A.
Ethan Winters, the Andor of Resident Evil. God damn.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, he's not fighting fucking Like, he's not. I don't see him fucking fighting Wesker. Like, you know
You
what I mean?
right, you right.
Yeah.
Sheva Olamar from Resident Evil 5.
She'll get a C too.
Yeah, I feel bad, but that's it. She got stuck in a hard place.
Yeah, that's it. It's a shame because like you have like one person of color, or like you have two women of color as protagonists in Resident Evil. From you have two pretty much,
You got her and
and
Ada, and she
yeah,
just happened to be stuck in the Resident Evil Race War game.
yeah, that I mean like. I played it when I was younger, so like I didn't really understand. Like, oh, why is this game racist? Like, like it just happens to take place in Africa, and then like you grow up, it's like okay, the idea of like a white dude shooting down like a bunch of Africans in like Africa is
Not
sounds
great.
like no, that's not a good look. But like when you're a kid, you're not thinking about that shit like that, right? So like I was just thinking to myself like, yeah, Chef is not really fleshed out. Like, like you it's cool, I guess. Like you're it's like, you're really like really leaning on the co-op stuff. Like you've always had dual protagonists up to this point except for 4. So like introducing something like this into the industry or into the franchise was like in the novel and stuff. And correct me if I'm mistaken, but like I feel like 5 was around the same time frame that like games like uh Dishonored, Last of Us, BioShock Infinite, like they were introducing this like concept of like a main character who's male that has a female character like sidekick slash deuteragonist and stuff like Elizabeth with Booker and BioShock Infinite, Victoria and Agent 47 in Hitman Absolution, Emily Caldwin and Corvo Atano for Dishonored, so like there was always like, and there was a clear motivation for the female characters to have their story arcs be realized that it's not necessarily dependent on the males um story arc, like but it intertwines with them, so that's why you have like the multiple connections and stuff, right? Like that's why you're able to like call them both the protagonists of the story. You don't really get that with Sheva. I feel like
No.
Resident Evil 5 was a Chris Redfield game featuring Sheva, and it was like, oh yeah, like you want to play like with me, like so we could both mow down like zombies. Also, like something I also like noted too was the AI for Ashley, who was a combatant character in 4, was so much better than Sheva, who was actually supposed to like,
It was
help.
built it was built to be a two-player game, and the single-player capabilities just didn't pan out.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and it's a shame because like, I've always thought like the way Ashley was in 4, like, it's sure it's an escort mission basically, right? Like, but she wasn't like in the way, like
No,
like she wasn't like completely helpless. Like I could leave her alone and she'll be fine, type stuff. Like it wasn't like
you
I
can
have
put
to
her in a
babe.
locker and she'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, like you didn't have to babysit her too much. Where Sheva, who actually is a combatant with training and has a gun, I felt like, oh my gosh, like shoot, duck. Like I'm shooting at you, you're in the way. Like, that's why I was being fun. So like it might have soured my opinion on her a little bit too.
I can see that for sure. And then, finally, the only man that this lesbian will ever call daddy, Leon Mother fucking Kennedy. Is there any do we need to say anything?
Yeah, this is where it gets complicated, right?
There's
Ah, shit.
there's so
Oh,
much good Leon content. There's 2, there's 4, and there's Requiem.
yeah, yeah. So
But
I've
6 kinda it holds him back.
no, not at all. I feel like even 6, like the downsides of 6 weren't because of Leon, in my opinion.
That's
Like,
fair.
yeah, like so. This is my opinion on, and I'm gonna try to tie this with pro wrestling, right? Um, I know I mentioned earlier that Chris Redfield was CM Punk. Now I'm gonna do something different. Leon is CM Punk. Chris Redfield is Roman Reigns in the eyes of Capcom. Capcom knows how much the franchise fans love Leon Kennedy. We all love him. We lose our fucking shit for Leon Kennedy. This motherfucking blonde twink shows up and does a backflip. We go, oh my god, let's fucking go. And he's been a consistent draw. 2 did well, 4 did well, Requiem did well, but and I say this because it's like this is my opinion. Capcom keeps shoving Chris in your face like the tribal fucking chief. Look at him in 7. Look at him. Look how buff he is. Look at his cool new trench coat. Is he the villain? You'll never know. Oh, here he is punching a boulder. That's cool, right? Not as cool as a backflip, but that's cool, right? Hey, Resident Evil 6. Hey, we know we want to give players the ability to play as Wesker, but we don't know which gun-toting protagonist we want.
It keeps
I
cutting
mean,
out. I'm so sorry.
hello?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. So in 6, they didn't know which gun-toting protagonist they wanted. They were like, yeah, Leon did good in 4. Chris didn't really do good in 5, though. But on 6, like, even though we should just go with Leon, we'll put Chris there too. Because we think Chris is the face of the franchise. He's the white guy y'all should like. He's not a twink. He works out. He's your tribal chief. By the way, he has family in this thing. So we got bloodline here too. We got Claire. Y'all like Claire, right? She she's like main event Jey Uso, right? Y'all, she's over with the fans. Yeet. Yeet, Claire Redfield. Yeah. Yeah. Leon.
Capcom loves big sweaty men.
Capcom loves Chris Redfield. I don't think the fans like Chris Redfield as much as they like Leon. Leon is like the face of like Resident Evil, bar none. But you never know that over the last few. Like, you remember those Resident Evil movies with like Yakovich?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. How many times did Chris show up? A bunch. Does Leon show up?
I don't even think Leon's showing up in the Zach Kreger movie that's happening.
No, that I think he's the main character. Actually,
Okay.
I'm not sure. All right, let me do this then. That one movie where Chris meets Leon, right? They just had to book Chris Strong,
Mm-hmm.
just as strong as Leon. They have to be a stalemate. They have to be a stalemate. Okay, but when we saw that, we all wanted Leon to win, right? Like,
It's The Rock and Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious.
it's The Rock and Vin Diesel. It's The Rock and Austin. Like it's it's Hangman MJF. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just there's a certain person that the fans really gravitate towards. It's Bryan Danielson in WWE.
I think we
Like,
have to put Leon at S then.
yeah, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize we haven't done that. I thought that was a given. like,
It was
like,
obvious.
isn't S his literal middle name anyway?
I think we're gonna end it there. That was our Resident Evil protagonist tier list. My face is hurting from how much I have smiled and laughed during this episode. Kid Bandit, thank you so much for being on this episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast. Where can we find you?
I'm retired, so don't worry about. I mean, please follow T for T Wrestling on Instagram and Twitter. Like, I guess you could follow me too in there. I'm Kid Bandit Pro, but like, I'm just shit posting at this point. So So, or maybe I'll put thirst traps. I don't fucking know. But yes, that's there we go.
Finally, the permanent Kid Bandit thirst trap on Twitter arc that we've all been hoping for. You can find links to all of her stuff in the description down below. You can also find links to my link tree in the description down below. That will take you to every episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast, as well as all of my social media. If you like this episode, please leave a like. Please comment down below what your favorite Resident Evil protagonist is. Please share this with your friends. Please make sure to subscribe. If you really like this episode, you can go to the Cuddlepunk Podcast Patreon. That is patreon.com/the Cuddlepunk Podcast. We have really cool stuff over there for either $3 or $5 a month. The logo for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is done by Lauren Young. You could find her Instagram in the description down below. The theme song for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is Lose a Turn by Mod Staff Splitjaw. You can find links to all of Splitjaw's music in the description down below.